Thank you for joining in once again and listening to another episode of the Edible Valley Podcast. I'm chef and host Jonathan Fraser.
And I'm your co-host Aaron Howlett. Join us again as we go on another culinary adventure of the Comox Valley and beyond.
You're listening to episode 173, Comox Valley Mushrooms.
Today, we'll be speaking with Stoyan and Galina from Comox Valley Mushrooms, now a thriving local family business. They've supplied some of the area's top restaurants, as well as the Comox Valley Farmers Market. And with their ever-growing band of loyal customers, they are fast becoming the authority in the valley and beyond for all things mushrooms. Stoyan and Galina's interest in mushrooms started when they saw a TED Talk by Paul Stamets, an American mycologist and industry authority on all things mushrooms. The talk spoke of how some mushrooms are able to protect beehives from mites that can destroy the colony if left unchecked. From that point, their interest turned into an obsession, and they set about learning everything they could. They now live on a thriving farm on Fraser Road in Courtenay, where they produce from scratch an ever-expanding range of mushrooms and are now diving headfirst into workshops where their mission is to educate and inspire the Comox Valley community in the art of cultivating their own mushrooms. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Stoyan and Galina onto the Edible Valley podcast.
Well, a very good afternoon. We are at Comox Valley Mushrooms with Galina and Stoyan. Thank you very much for joining us, folks.
Thank you for coming. We are so glad to have you here.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming on. We've, as we said in the little walkabout there, the tour, we've been talking about doing an interview and a podcast devoted to mushrooms for quite a while. So I'm really happy that we're able to work this in today.
So let's just jump straight in, because we've got a lot of questions to ask you, and you've just taken us on a wonderful tour of this place. There are so many things to mushrooms that you have a lot of knowledge, so we've got a lot of questions to ask you, but I don't think we could ever go deep enough into this subject.
No,
it just keeps on going.
Yeah, and not just that, the varieties. I think you overwhelmed us just in the varieties that you're growing, and that's just a small portion of mushrooms in general. So maybe we can touch on that. Maybe we can start there. Let's talk about the mushrooms that you're growing.
Yes, so our mushrooms are considered specialty mushrooms. We specialize in mushrooms which are decomposers in nature.
Okay.
And called specialty mushrooms, they're gourmet mushrooms, and a big portion of these mushrooms are actually considered medicinal.
Okay.
Our main mushrooms that we grow are oyster mushrooms, shiitake, lion's mane, chestnut mushrooms, velvet pupino. Am I missing something? There are a bunch. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 varieties of oysters, like pink, golden oyster.
I had never seen a pink.
Blue oyster.
I'd never seen a pink until you just showed us. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And so you say you grow them both for food and for medicinal?
Yes, so you probably know some of the mushrooms are considered medicinal not only because they're good antioxidants and basically really superfood. They're rich on proteins. For example, the shiitake mushroom is 18% protein when it is dried.
Interesting. Do you know, can I, just as a personal little aside, I remember being told by my mom that mushrooms were high in protein. I always went with that in life, thinking that mushrooms were high in protein. And then I had a couple of chefs actually laugh when I said that. I was like, oh no, because mushrooms are fairly decent in protein. And they laughed and they said, absolutely not. And I looked it up, but it turned out button mushrooms were like 2% in protein. But yeah, a lot of these specialty mushrooms, as you're calling them, have much more to them.
Yeah, actually the maitake is even more.
Really?
With the maitake is over 20% protein when it is dried, right?
Wow.
So if you, and dried mushrooms is pretty much like 10-to-1 ratio.
Right.
So you have 10 pounds of mushroom, you end up with 1 pound of dried mushrooms, and then this is when they measure the protein amount.
Right.
You want to bring the water content to 8%.
8%.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at 8%, that's just when they're shelf stable?
That's what a dry mushroom is considered. Dry
Yeah, it
mushroom.
is quite stable at that point.
Sorry, I'm a little distracted. You've just put some mushrooms just in front of us here. Galina
ahead.
was frying up some. What do we have here?
Lion's mane with fresh green onion.
Oh wow! Oh, I'm definitely going to have a little bit of this. Sorry if there's some chewing noises.
This is quite likely to be the first proper mushroom I've ever eaten in my life. So
Are you joking?
No, probably. I'm not as refined as you. I'm the layman.
I absolutely love mushrooms. They're like my favorite things. Ate
The
them in
lion's
every way.
mane is one of our best sellers, the most wanted mushroom at the market right now. And since we came here to the valley, we see like increasing interest into this mushroom. Anybody who tries this mushroom comes back and asks for more.
Yes,
Really?
Yes, I can confirm that.
I like to mention just that a month ago I started going to Victoria's Farmers Market in Esquimalt.
I know
And
you
the
said
first
that in that
time-
email, and I thought you go all the way to Victoria once a week for the market.
Yes, I like to push produce twice a week, so
Wow.
it's always fresh.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Otherwise, our only market is Courtney Farmers Market. And the first time we went there with the lion's mane, people didn't know what it is. They called it, "What's that, cauliflower?" I said, "Give it a try."
Yeah.
And it's funny, the next time, that's the first one they ask for. It's sold the first 5 minutes.
Well, yeah,
So
because
that's how
the fresh lion's
good-
mane does almost look a bit like cauliflower. It's that dense, sort of bulbous, sort
Yeah.
of white.
But
then when it dries, it
the
almost
name was
looks-
already taken. The cauliflower mushroom.
Right.
There's another one which is called cauliflower, so the name was already taken. Otherwise, the lion's mane mushroom looks so much alike
Right.
cauliflower.
Yeah, and I noticed that when the lion's mane dries, that's when you get it starts to look a bit more like a lion's mane. Like you get that bit of shagginess to it, like not fully dried. But and so, why do you think it's the most popular for you?
I think there's something. First of all, it's not super strong mushroomy flavor. It's a bit sweet, but the texture is somewhat unique. It's quite dense mushroom, and
You can confuse it for chicken.
It feels almost like chicken meat. And some people, a friend of ours, made how they call it, the shepherd pie.
Oh yeah,
And she used lion's mane and some oysters in
Right.
combination and substituting the meat. So it is quite unique mushroom.
but it also we were talking about it just before we started. How it does have great medicinal properties
Absolutely,
as well.
yes. So there are many studies showing that this mushroom helps for regeneration of neural cells.
Right.
So people who in early stages of like developing Alzheimer and
Right.
Dementia.
these studies are showing that it slows down this process.
Right. Yeah, it slows down the deterioration that's going on.
Deterioration, yeah.
And do you have that? Is that a sort of a property across the board with mushrooms? Do you find, or with other ones that you're growing?
I've read a lot about mushrooms. I know, for example, the shiitake mushroom is very good for leveling the cholesterol level.
Interesting.
And it helps to level the blood pressure. So if you have low blood pressure, it will increase it, and then if it is high blood pressure, it will lower it down. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Do you mind? I mean, I know that Will talked about it up front in the introduction, but do you mind? What brought you to the valley to grow mushrooms? How did that journey happen?
So our story basically started when we originally came from Bulgaria, 2006. My background is in software engineering. My wife is in accounting.
Oh, yeah.
And we both of us had really nice office jobs. My wife especially.
Steady income.
Steady income.
Secure
busy-
positions.
busy life and so forth. But eventually we kind of started to feel the pressure and the rat race in the valley and in Vancouver. We have two boys and it was constant rush to get the kids from school,
Right.
send them there. And, we never had time to spend together. So we were looking for escape plan, so to say, from this situation. And eventually we came here camping a couple of times. We saw Miracle Beach.
Oh, nice.
And we loved the area so much. Mount Washington, the rivers, the ocean, the lakes. So beautiful here.
It is.
Yeah. Can you rate your interest in mushrooms at this point out of 10?
Yeah, how interested were you at that point?
Oh, at that point, I would say like 0 because I didn't.
So
know.
really, this is going to be a steep incline.
You were still software and accounting.
Software engineering was occupying all my life.
Right.
Like it was 100%. Let's not say 100%, but most of my conscious life was in software development.
So you guys,
I grew up in a small village
Okay.
where we had chickens, we had fresh grown veggies, and
Right.
I remember the taste that is nothing to compare to the conventional
Right.
store-bought veggies. So we want to show our children where food comes from, because at some point they decided it grows in the store.
Yeah.
When you're stuck in a concrete village. Right now we have our first flock and we ate our first
chickens,
chicken.
That's awesome. So you camped Miracle Beach, the sort of the outside of the valley, just outside the valley, and then you were just decided that you were moving here?
Well, it came gradually, but we first were thinking to go a little bit far from the city, and then it happened that actually our best friends moved here, so we were traveling much more often to here, and we knew the area much better. And then we were thinking, what shall we do? Let's move here, but then we are losing our jobs.
Right.
Of course, I could continue working my software engineering remote, and this is what happened actually for 1 year. But we wanted to do something with our hands. So around 2017, I came across the Postamets, one TED Talk with Postamets.
Okay.
And Postamets is probably, one of the most famous mycologists. And his speech was so inspiring.
Right.
So it happened that I visited one of his talks in person. He was invited by the Bee Society in Vancouver to talk about his invention, which helps bees fighting mites. And
so he's using mushrooms to revitalize bee colonies.
Yeah, so that was absolutely incredible. And in this, into this event, he patented his invention, and it was really an evening which I will never forget.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Okay, so your interest in mushrooms at this point, 2017 out of 10.
Yeah, it's picked up a bit at that point.
It went like...
It went 11 straight away.
Yeah. Well, I would say like 9.
Wow, okay.
Because I started already, I was really quite interested into this, and then I started digging into books, YouTube, and read more about it.
If you don't mind, we'll put a couple links when people are listening that they can follow up and see what inspired you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And then from there, you dove right in. You jumped in.
Then what happened? I took one workshop with Will B. I forgot his last name. He's in the Vancouver's Mycologist Society.
Right.
2018, I went to China. Actually, no, let's not jump so quick, but because I wanted to explore the idea of doing mushroom growing as a business. The first workshop which I took was about home-based, just for hobby kind of oriented workshop.
What do you mind me asking? What was your interest at this point? Were you pushing for this? Was this something that interested you?
I was just a supporter.
Oh yeah.
Her interest were Windows at the time.
Yeah.
Excel sheets. I know my husband forgets a very interesting story that Postamets had his mother cured out cancer.
Wow.
A very late stage 4 breast cancer, and with turkey tail mushroom extract.
Really?
And that was an interest of my husband, that mushrooms are not only used for gourmet properties, but for helping people.
So okay. So now you're off to China, or you're almost off to China?
Yeah. So as I said, I started exploring the idea of growing mushrooms as a business. I really like the idea that they're unique. The specialty mushrooms that we were planning to do are somewhat unique. People don't know them, which is in some cases good. On the other hand, it is absolutely like an edge. I just wanted to see how they do it in China, and I visited one farm. So the idea to go there was actually to purchase some equipment to help us to automate things. But I also also visited a couple of farms. One of the farm was shiitake farm, and they were producing 6 tons per day.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And it is unbelievable.
Right.
Unbelievable. And on the other hand, we were planning to do something in the scale of like 100 pounds per week.
Right.
So that was really interesting. So the experience in China is was really good. It just showed me what is the potential, how much the Chinese people are really into mushrooms. It is one of the most common food in there.
Right.
They appreciate it over there.
Yeah.
North America is still.
Yeah, so on that subject, I mean, when people say China, obviously we know that a lot of stuff is manufactured, a lot of the things that we buy are from China. But where does China stand in terms of mushrooms?
It's quite interesting. The government subsidize the low-income villages.
Oh yeah.
And they do this, of course, to have less people unemployed and to give chance to work people. But what really struck me is that they still use coal. For their sterilization units, and which is quite unfortunate. So this,
right?
But
do you mind if we segue into how does that differ from yours? You have a much different sterilization process.
Our sterilization process is somewhat like
we use electricity.
Use electricity, which is much cleaner, of course. But on the other hand, we also use biodegradable bags, which is another less impact on the nature and things like that. But I don't know if this answered the question, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the one question that I forgot to ask you when we were walking around the mushroom farm is, did you beforehand, or do you now still forage for mushrooms? Is that something you can appreciate? Can you go out and walk? And
we go with the kids.
Yeah.
We have 2 boys, so we go just for fun for chanterelles and hedgehog and
when we see oyster,
mushroom.
we compare it to our quality oyster.
Nice. See if you're managing to keep up with nature.
No, but we go
just
for fun. Yeah, just for fun.
Good.
It's not like to sell them or whatever.
No.
Yeah. We
Interesting.
do.
Yeah.
How have your boys? How much interested are they in mushrooms?
My younger one right now is very interested in going to the market, and he explains to the customers what kinds we have.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Half a year ago, he was running away.
Oh wow!
I mean, you were saying, you moved over from Bulgaria and you stayed in your original careers for a while, but basically they look like they're going to be growing up knowing this side of you mostly.
The struggle and appreciation of little victories.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
the stress sometimes.
My foraging experience, I quite like to forage for mushrooms, and I often do it by myself. I find it really mind clearing to go out for an afternoon. But I've taken the kids with me a few times, and they definitely still treat it more like a chore than something. Except there have been a few times when my son has found quite an opening of them, and he's like, "Look what I found!" And he gets all excited because he's the one that found it. But then he doesn't want to actually spend the time picking them.
I'm sure when he's an adult, he'll remember these moments.
I hope so. But it's funny because I'm not very good with identifying them, and I know that. So I take very, very, very cautious care. I take a few knives with me. I take a few bags with me, and every time I pick from a certain area, they get that one knife so that there's no cross contamination. That one bag, and then I take them to John and ask him if I can eat these. Like, are these the edible ones? Because I mean, I suppose I know
if they're not
in
purple.
general. Yeah, I know in general, but I like to be certain. And I know John, my usual co-host, he's always doing the identifying for me. He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, those are fine."
So the consequences are pretty horrendous, aren't they, with mushrooms?
Yeah, which is the sort of what I wanted to bring up was, let's all, I encourage the foraging and I encourage the mushroom eating, and we should all be eating more mushrooms, but don't just wander into the forest and pick mushrooms.
Every mushroom is edible, some of them just once.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's really good. That should be the strapline for your business. I did want to ask, you've been around obviously a few countries. How does the Comox Valley itself stand up in terms of mushroom growing?
I don't see competition for us right now in mushroom growing, but my point of view is that this is the best area for us to promote our product. I'm amazed by the farmers market that is here. I think it's the best one in BC, in whole BC. I've checked like 20 others.
Wow.
And I'm amazed by our customers and the customers in general.
What
how
do you
they
feel?
appreciate.
What do you feel sets it apart, if you don't mind me asking?
It's the people that come to the market.
Oh yeah.
Since they're here, it means there is a lifestyle they've chosen to
That's a
live.
good point, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very important. I noticed that they're very careful about what they consume.
Right.
They don't want any additives. They don't want. They are big into sports and nature.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say that half of the population of Courtney is like that.
So you don't
Yeah.
have to do any converting, or
No.
they know the goodness in this product.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely understand that.
People are open to try new things here,
Yeah.
and fortunately we have really good mushrooms, and once they try them they come back again and again.
Well, look at Will. Will had his first mushroom on air.
Not
Here.
my first mushroom.
Your first
my
of
first
these.
decent mushroom. Because I was talking to
Just
Galina about
wolves
this.
back the bowl though.
Honestly, because like a lot of people, I actually, to be honest, might just look at mushrooms as just kind of, I'll just pick up some mushrooms from the store. A mushroom's a mushroom. And it's not.
No.
At all. What can you just tell us? It's a bit of a tricky thing because I'm trying it. I'm aware listeners are not trying these mushrooms. But how did you make these?
It's very simple. Just plain butter, cut mushrooms, and fresh onion and some salt.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be that. So it's really simple.
If
but
you like to indulge yourself,
Yeah.
get a portion of that.
Well, my ex-wife was Swedish, and a very common thing for them to eat was some lightly sautéed chanterelles on toast. Mushrooms on toast was like a very common snack for them.
It's not at all mild. It is a really strong hit of delicious flavour. It really is very, very good. So I'm not just saying that. I'm not being
I've always been a big fan. I think a lot of people know that I don't have a sweet tooth. I've always been a big fan of savory and earthy flavors. That's why I like blue cheese, onions, and mushrooms are all like those are my favorite foods. But these are even this is lion's mane. These are even earthier. You know what I mean? There's even a stronger, almost mineral content to it that you can taste. They're fantastic. I'm loving it. Thank you for these.
So in terms of growing mushrooms, tell us about the kind of tools and equipment you need.
Yeah, so you can, for hobby people, you can go really low tech. You don't need anything sophisticated. You can just dedicate one spare room or your garage to start growing mushroom.
Okay.
If you want to do this in a little bit bigger scale, you need a lab because the main problem with growing mushrooms is the contamination. And contamination meaning other molds and other mycelium, and you want to grow exactly what you plant.
Right. Yeah, I was honestly surprised. I mean, I knew that there had to be a controlled environment, but when you took us into the lab and then into the antechamber and the lab and all the different things, and then the where you move that into the growing room, like I was really blown away at how much is involved and how many steps.
Yeah, if you don't follow the steps exactly, you most probably will fail or will have very limited success.
Can you tell our process so it's more clear what we use?
Without giving away trade secrets.
No, it's not trade secret at all. It is just the beginning. In the beginning, you basically need to have really clean substrate so that you give competitive advantage to your mycelium to grow.
Right.
For that reason, we use our sterilizer, and we sterilize the substrate for 15 to 16 hours, and then we use it is a filter which is called laminar flow hood, which gives us this clean area to do the transfers from petri dishes to grain, and then from grain to the production box. And then it is very important to have incubation room where you keep constant temperature between 20 to 24 degrees, and then we use 4 of the major triggers to induce the mycelium to induce fruiting, which is high humidity, lower temperature, and then light and oxygen. This is another controlled environment that you need to have.
Right.
You can achieve this at home with a little bit.
I don't know that when we walked into that humidity room, I don't know if you can achieve that at home, just in a closet. But we are going to post pictures of that because that was pretty intense. That was pretty amazing.
It was almost spooky. It was a little bit Halloween.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
A big dense fog rolling out.
I've got to ask, is there anything else you grow on the farm? Are there any other complementary things that you can grow with mushrooms?
Oh, my wife just started our garden. She can talk more about it.
We started our veggie garden. I'm very proud.
Yeah.
We use horse manure compost and mushroom manure from our own leftover.
Mushroom compost.
We are waiting for a very few hot days to get to pick the big bunch of red tomatoes that we've been looking at them growing.
Yeah, and then you've taken to, you just said this is your first round of chickens?
This is our first flock.
That's
yes.
nice. And they're...
We got them from a neighbor at the farmer's market when they were young, 2 weeks old.
Right.
And they were not sexed, so we ended up with roosters.
Somebody to wake up in the morning. To wake up us in the morning. Yeah.
3 in the morning in the summer. Excellent. So is that more of a personal thing? It's for personal use?
That
for meat
is.
for you? Yeah. And the mushrooms?
To add something to the omelette.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of the mushroom industry in the valley, do you believe that the interest in mushrooms is growing?
Yes, we see that a lot. Many people are contacting us to come and see the operation. They want to try at home.
Oh, yeah.
But I know it's a big
quite
hill
big
to
investment.
jump.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that people are coming to you more for the flavors? Are they looking for the mushroom as a food stuff, or are they looking for it as medicinal? Mostly, like which one's on the rise?
Both, actually.
Really?
Many people are looking for the lion's mane specifically to make tinctures for themselves. People are asking us for reishi, turkey tail. Well, turkey tail we can grow, but it's right now we're focusing mostly on the gourmet.
Right, the gourmet aspect, right?
Aspect of the mushroom. Although we have grown also reishi. What else did we grow recently?
If I don't recall its medicinal properties, but aren't they also to do with regenerative to nerve, or is it
which one?
The reishi?
They are mostly have antiviral kind of properties.
Right. Interesting.
They have a lot of other properties.
So there's quite a bit to learn. Like we're just scratching the surface here. Where do you have any did you find anything to be particularly helpful or for learning a lot about mushrooms?
So what I would strongly recommend to any hobbyists or people who are interested in growing mushrooms is the book from Paul Stamets. It's called Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms. Okay. We will post maybe a link to
absolutely perfect. And that's really what got you going. That was it. That was the catalyst there.
Yeah,
that took the interest into
this book is indeed goes really deep into all the details and how to build your lab, your incubation room, your fruiting rooms.
Amazing.
You can see the notes.
And then you can see our book is full with notes.
Fantastic.
And if something is not going well, we usually go go back to this book, check it out again, and we usually find that we're missing something.
So we've sort of established what you do have. Do you have anything that you're moving towards? Is there anything that you're planning on doing later, or new mushrooms you're going to try out?
We like to build a new lab that will be just for transferring, making clean transfers to spawn, because spawn has to be very, very clean.
Right.
You don't want to inoculate with contaminated spawn because you throw away lots of production. That will take.
That's the next big project.
This is one of the big projects that we are planning. Second lab, to have a dedicated lab just for spawn.
Right.
It is very important.
My husband is very interested in making tinctures.
Oh yeah.
So far we do that on a small scale, but he wants to grow into that and dedicate another room. And we use high quality alcohol.
Right.
From Wayward Distillery.
Oh, nice.
And we get very good feedback from people that they're working.
Oh, good.
And I recently found out that not every tincture that you can buy on the market is so clean. They sometimes use just mycelium, which is contaminated with grain.
Right.
They use the fruiting body.
Oh.
And only the best quality.
That's it seems, if I may comment, it seems that you are really community minded, being that as we were walking through the farm, you're saying you got all your seed from Clever Crow and Amara and your starters, and then the fact that you're using Wayward, our local alcohol, or one of our local alcohol. Yeah. I think that's great. That's fantastic. Is that an important thing for you? Is to keep community?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually, when I go to the market on Saturday, it's my escape from my daily job. I go there to socialize and to see all the farmers. And
we can relate to the other farmers because we know how much effort it's put, and we really appreciate because we know the quality they are offering, and you can taste it. Now we're trying to. It's difficult to afford it to eat from the farmers market, but we're trying our best.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I want to go back to your question about the future of the how I imagine it. So when we started this, I actually was imagining that I really like the idea to go in the lab and do some research. So my dream is one day to have a company which can pay the bills, to be self-sustained and whatnot, and give me the chance to just spend more time for research.
Right.
And to do mushrooms, you probably know I used for mycoremediation, for cleaning soil, they're quite important for the habitat and for the
packaging,
for all kind of relationships and symbiotics with other.
Yeah, they're integral to the whole ecology.
Yeah, so that's something that I really want to explore more.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
There is a vast area that mycelium can be used.
Right.
There is a company in New York that makes furniture out of mycelium.
What? Really?
It grows
amazing.
Mycelium on straw and sawdust, and then dries it in molds and dries it up.
Wow.
You can be amazed how many things. I've read, for example, that there other companies are making artificial leather.
Leather,
yes.
You're kidding.
And somebody had posted a picture of a canoe made out of mycelium.
What?
And also somebody was exploring the idea of making bricks because of the good insulation properties of the mycelium.
That's amazing.
And things like that. Yeah. So
it's a whole field that's ready to be explored.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's fantastic.
I like one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That mycelium, you can do your own medicine. If you have your saliva on a petri dish with mycelium, the mycelium will try to fight your own bacteria specifically for your body.
So you're tailor making your own medicines, specifically for you.
But I just read that.
That's amazing.
A few times. I'm not at that level.
Well, that's what you'll do in the lab, I suppose, when you get to that point. Start testing with that.
Yeah, there are so many different directions to
that's
this
amazing.
Can go.
So I think I only have one last question. I know that we've already established that you're at the Comox Valley Farmers Market on Saturdays. Where else can people find your wares or pick up your products?
This is for now. During the last few months with the COVID around, we lost a few of our regular customers, restaurants in the valley and a few restaurants in Victoria that we used to do weekly deliveries.
Right.
And right now we're seeing that farmers markets in Courtenay and in Victoria work for us.
Oh yeah, and that's the Thursday market in Victoria, in Esquimalt, I think you said?
I realized that we cannot have a stand because mushrooms don't like to stay out in the hot.
Yeah,
and
they can't just sit there at the end of the driveway all day.
And on the other hand, when I start a job in the lab, I cannot get out and help somebody, a customer.
Right. So for now, it's just those two places?
Just those two places.
It's worth saying that you can definitely get in touch on Facebook, Comox Valley Mushrooms, and actually the same website address, www.comoxvalleymushrooms.com.
Yes, and we also have Instagram account.
Perfect.
And it's worth looking at because mushrooms are really. I mean, Darren, you love going around with the camera.
I love photography and I love mushrooms. So this was a lot of fun getting to take a lot of pictures, which I'm hoping turned out. And if they did, we will definitely be posting them to go along with this.
And they take great photos. Great. Well, thank you very much, both. It's been very interesting. I've learnt. I've probably quadrupled my knowledge of mushrooms.
Yeah, absolutely. As for something that I've loved my entire life, you've added so many extra dimensions there for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming over.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
My name is William Stringer.
And I'm Darren Howlett.
This is Galina.
And Stoyan.
And we'll see you next week.
And once again, thank you for supporting us and more importantly, supporting the people that make up your food community. We're always looking for new stories to share and people to talk with. So don't forget to follow us at Facebook at the Edible Valley Podcast or Instagram at Edible Valley. Our website, ediblevalley.com, To tell us what you want to hear, or if you have any questions for us, email us at theediblevalley@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us, because you never know where we'll be exploring next in the Edible Valley.
Yeah. I thought I wrong then. Let's do it again.
No, I wasn't calling in your numbering. I'm just surprised to be there.
So this wasn't switched on for the first 10 minutes.
That's
So
all right.
we'll work it
picked
out.
up, or
Yeah.
you can
We've got Darren doing quite a bit.
you can also do voiceover at home.